here, and today we're going to be talking about ADHD, the child with a Ferrari engine, and a natural solution to putting on the brakes. The agenda is as followed. We're going to do a brief introduction. We're going to talk about what ADHD is. We'll get into the cause. We'll bring you a solution. And then when we finish up here, I want to give you guys an opportunity. I want to try to bust this out in about 20 to 30 minutes. I'm guessing that there's a lot of moms on the webinar here, and I know you guys are busy. I know you have a lot on your plate, just like my wife does. So let me make this simple. We'll make it easy. At the end, I'll give you a phone number. You can always call me, as well as you can always email me. A little bit of an intro. My name is Dr. Derek Caston. I am the owner of One Love Chiropractic here in Asheville, North Carolina. It's a beautiful, beautiful town. I don't know if it's the vortex from the mountains or if it's the energy from the unique people, but it's a bubble of goodness. So I absolutely love being here. We just moved out here about a month ago, and my family and I are enjoying it tremendously. I'm a certified pediatric chiropractor. I see a lot of children. I see a lot of families. I also specialize in family wellness. And my focus, because I've been diagnosed with ADHD, I've been labeled with ADHD, my focus is on neurodevelopmental disorders. So everything from the label ADHD to the label sensory integration disorder or sensory processing disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety, depression, bipolar, seizures, epilepsy, the list goes on. Today we're going to focus on ADHD. And as we go forward, I hope to do more webinars. So please give me your thoughts, whatever you guys are looking for. I want to talk about, I want to help you heal, I want to help you find solutions. My why. Why am I doing this? Well, first and foremost, I'm doing this for my family. I'm doing this for my wife, my 9-month-old Lenny, my son Tate, and my daughter Layla. I'm doing this so that they can grow up in an environment that is conducive to health and happiness, so that their friends can be healthy, so that their friends and their friends' families can be in a state of balance and ease, so we can all enjoy life together. I want my community to be healthier and happier. I want Asheville to be a place that we all enjoy and we all can love being a part of. I want my city and my community to be the best that it can be, especially for children. Children are really the next generation, and we have to set them up for success. So this is my why. I truly want to help. I truly want to enjoy life, and I want my kids to enjoy life. So what's the problem? What's the big deal? Well, the problem is simple. There's too many children out there that are being medicated for something that they should not be medicated for. And I just want to throw some thoughts out there before I actually get into the numbers. But let me kind of ask you some questions. I mean, when did we start looking at kids and trying to put kids into this box? What if we stopped trying to make our kids seem normal, and instead we encourage them to be amazing or exceptional or different, or we allowed them to meet their full potential? What if this whole subject and this whole issue and this whole labeling and diagnosing of ADHD isn't really about our children, but it's about a business? What if we looked at society and said, maybe society needs to change? Now, don't get me wrong. Certain kids are expressing symptoms associated with ADHD. That doesn't make them different in terms of having an issue. That doesn't make them having a problem or a condition, that just makes them special. And that's okay. Those kids are our warriors. Those kids will be our leaders. But because society is set up like it is, those kids have a tougher time. And especially when these kids are overwhelmed and overstressed, those symptoms that are associated with ADHD, lack of focus, not being able to pay attention, a little bit too hyperactive for the schooling, they need a little bit more help so that they can be in a better place, so that they can handle this world a little bit better. I'll get into that in a second. Here's the problem, guys. Over 24 million kids are on medication for ADHD in this country. 7 million below the age of 9. To me, that is not okay. That is something that needs to change. ADHD medication is hardcore. It is cocaine in a pill. It is a type 2 narcotic substance. It is something that we should not be putting our children on. It is addictive, and it leads to many, many side effects that I'm not going to get into here today. But bottom line, we have to stop drugging and medicating our children, and we have to stop covering up their imbalances. We need to allow our children to express themselves in a positive way. We need to support them through life and through the society. We need to be there for the kids, be there for the families. And that's what One Love is all about. So what is ADHD? That's a question I'm sure a lot of healthcare professionals and doctors can talk about all day long. But in reality, let's talk about what ADHD is not. You see, ADHD is not a deficit or a disorder. It is not a disease or a condition. ADHD, quite simply, is an expression of the central nervous system being stuck in protection. It's an imbalance of the central nervous system that when that imbalance expresses itself, we like to label it because it's a little bit different than what we're used to. And when you add in constraints that are dictated by society, now it's so much easier to label these expressions. So it's a twofold situation. Number one, we have these kids that are imbalanced, unfortunately, and that are expressing themselves a little bit more than they should, in a sense, as well as you have society that is trying to put these circular cylinder types of pegs into square holes, and they just don't fit. So instead, they just want to dumb these kids down. They just want to cover it up. They just want to take a hammer and pound those pegs in. Again, I am not okay with that. So let's get into the neurology. Let's get deep and talk about ADHD or the symptoms that are expressed and talk about how we can help these children find balance. So in terms of the neurology, the way I think about ADHD, and this isn't a bad thing. Like I said, I have it. And now that I'm able to be balanced and I'm able to handle stress appropriately and I'm able to find my true potential within, how I express myself is actually a benefit. It's allowed me to be outgoing, to connect with people, to help people heal, to be a chiropractor at the highest level. You see, children with ADHD are really just children with Ferrari engines. And unfortunately, because of a lot of the stress and the trauma that has been in their lives, it's affected their ability to slow down. It's affected their brakes. So they're Ferrari engine with bicycle brakes. From a neurological standpoint, It's really all about balance. You see, the autonomic nervous system needs to have balance. And the autonomic nervous system is the part of the nervous system that we don't control. So it's about 90% of who we are. It's unconscious. So it controls your heart and your lungs and your digestion. It also controls your ability to focus. It controls your overall energy. When we're talking about the ANS, or the autonomic nervous system, we can split it into two separate branches. On one side, you have the sympathetic, or the gas pedal, which to me is the Ferrari engine. On the other side, you have the parasympathetics, or the brake pedal. Again, those are your brakes. When we talk about the sympathetic system, that is the side of the nervous system that allows us to protect. It allows us to survive. It's where we go when we're getting chased by a bear. It's the fight or flight response. It's really the part of the nervous system that is supposed to deal with stress occasionally. The adrenals are also activated, and that is going to send cortisol and adrenaline throughout the body, again, to allow you to protect and survive. Now, children with Ferrari engines to begin with have a sympathetic system that is a little bit overactive. All that tells me is that these kids are not the farmers. These kids are the warriors. And that's okay if you have a society that is set up for that. Now, on the flip side, you have the parasympathetics, or the brake pedal. That's where children and people, overall, adults as well, will rest and relax and digest. That is the digestive side of the nervous system, of the ANS, as well as that's where our children will grow and develop. Now, Dr. Bruce Lipton, he is a brilliant biologist. He says, and I agree, that the sympathetic parasympathetic systems cannot be working at the same time. So you cannot be in growth and protection at the same time. And what he means by that is that if one system is working, the other one is not. If you're getting chased by a bear, if your sympathetic system is turned on, that means the parasympathetics are not working, and vice versa. Now, in a perfect world, the parasympathetics should be on the majority of the time. But unfortunately, what has happened because of stress and trauma, the sympathetics have been activated and turned on at an early age in our children. And that brings me to the cause. Why have these sympathetic systems been turned on and locked on, thus causing kids with Ferrari engines to express themselves at a high level? And because their sympathetics are locked on, they can't turn it off. Their brakes aren't working. The cause is simple. It comes from trauma. Think about it. We have more intervention than ever before. Dr. Gutman did a study on birth trauma, and he saw that 80% of children born these days have some type of birth trauma causing a misalignment of the spine. And that birth trauma can come from a C-section, forceps, vacuum suction. It can even come from the doctor getting his hands in there, twisting and pulling and turning the neck. Now, that birth trauma can also come from dystocia, which is a long progressed labor, and it can come from other traumas associated with the whole birth process or shortly after birth, such as such as circumcision, as well as vaccines, erythromycin, which are the eye drops for chlamydia or gonorrhea. You have to think about trauma not only in a physical sense, but also in an emotional and a chemical sense. Now, ask yourself, what happens when we encounter a trauma? Well, innately, we go into protection. The sympathetic systems are turned on. And when a little baby or a child encounters a trauma that they are not used to encountering, or that our generations before us have not encountered, what is going to happen to the body as a whole? It's going into survival. And think about what you would do in terms of your musculature if you were in a protective state, if you were in a sympathetic state. Well, it's pretty simple. The muscles are not going to be restful and relaxed. And you can talk to a massage therapist about this, or a physical therapist. The muscles are going to be tense and tight. And if a muscle is in a state of protection, in a state of tension for a long period of time, it's going to cause misalignments and postural issues within the spine. As well as a birth trauma, right off the bat, is enough trauma, enough physical stress to misalign the spine. Now, I give you an example of what that looks like. You can see on the right what a nice, healthy spine looks like. And when you have a nice, healthy spine, the nervous system, the parasympathetic, sympathetic ANS, the nervous system, which again needs to be balanced, if you have a good, healthy spine, the nervous system which is within, which is protected by the spine, can function optimally. Everything works appropriately. The information coming from the brain into the body is coming in correctly. But when you have trauma, especially at an early age, when a child should not be encountering these traumas, and I can go on and on, everything from the birth intervention to the vaccines or the high amounts of vaccines, the chemical stress, to the poor diet, to mother going through traumas and emotional stressors through the pregnancy, to what that child might be going through, even a fall at age 2, 3, 4, or 5, is enough to cause imbalances. And what happens is either that trauma directly causes a misalignment within the spine, or because that trauma, that stressor, causes sustained tension through the protective response of the sympathetic system, it will lead to a misalignment. And when you have a misalignment in the spine, it will affect the information coming from the brain into the body. Now, this is where it gets a little bit deep. Because if you open up any physiology textbook, any anatomy textbook for that matter, you will see that the nervous system, the central nervous system, is really set up like a big fuse box. And what we do know is that in between each vertebra, you have a nerve, multiple nerves, and these nerves go to different parts of the body. So we have the upper cervical part of the nervous system that I'm showing you right now. So take a look and see what nerves C1, C2, and C3 innervate, just like a fuse box. They innervate the fight or flight system, the protective response. They innervate the brainstem, the pituitary, which deals with chemical balance. They innervate the ears, the eyes, the facial nerve, the jaw, the teeth, the sinuses, and the vagus nerve, which the vagus nerve allows the nervous system to calm down. It's really a big part and the major part of the parasympathetics. Now, when there is a major misalignment and a restriction of the motion of the nerves of the upper cervical spine, it will not allow for proper stimulation and proper function of the nerves. I really think of it as a blown fuse. And that blown fuse is called a subluxation. That's what we define a misalignment and a lack of motion within the nervous system, which affects the function of the nerve, which causes irritation or interference to a specific nerve. And when that happens, again, I think about that just like I would think about a blown fuse. When that happens in the upper cervical spine, it causes certain expressions. It causes certain symptoms. The body needs to talk to you and let you know that there's a problem. Look at what some of the possible symptoms could be if your son or daughter, or if you have a blown fuse or a subluxation in the upper cervical part of the nervous system. Everything from headaches to expressions such as ADD or ADHD. It just activates that gas pedal, which again, in children that already have Ferrari engines, it takes it to the next level. It causes issues with how we sense and perceive this world. So sensory integration disorder could be the result. Trouble sleeping, high blood pressure, it affects digestion, ear infections, fatigue, anxiety, depression, epilepsy, vertigo, balance and coordination issues, allergies, eye pain, and the list goes on. So keeping it simple, if your son or daughter is expressing themselves with any of these neurological imbalances, if your son or daughter is expressing themselves with a possible subluxation, you need to get that checked out. Because all we have to do is evaluate for subluxation, and if it exists, quite simply, we need to remove it. And when you remove the subluxation through specific, safe adjustments, you allow the body to start to heal. You allow the body, and specifically the autonomic nervous system, to find balance. You start to activate the brakes. Now, the cool thing about this is you're not taking the Ferrari engine out of the child or out of the body. You're fine-tuning that Ferrari engine so it works a little bit more appropriately, so the RPMs aren't so high, so that it's not constantly going and driving at high speeds, as well as you're giving that Ferrari engine and that Ferrari as a whole, in a sense, better brakes, so that when it needs to, it can slow down, it can pay attention, it can focus. It can be running at a level that is appropriate to society at a certain level. So the opportunity going forward is really simple, parents. And the opportunity is really set up so that each and every one of us has the ability, has the opportunity to get their child and their families checked for subluxation. It's that simple. Every child deserves the opportunity to make sure that their nervous system is functioning at the highest level, to make sure that they have balance within, so that they can meet their full potential, so that they can have that advantage in life that they deserve, so that they can be that warrior, that gifted child that can lead us going forward. You see, a child cannot truly meet their full potential if they are subluxated. And if they're subluxated, they are going to be limited. They are going to be labeled. They are going to be recommended to be drugged. And I am not okay with that. We need to allow our children of the future to be healthy, to be drug-free, and to be happy, so that they are motivated, so that they feel confident with themselves, so that they are in a good place to live the life that they deserve. The opportunity from me, for those of you that are in my community, is an opportunity to come in for a free, complimentary consult and evaluation. There's no strings attached. I'll do an evaluation. I'll sit down with you. I'll listen to you. I'll find out where this is coming from, and I'll put a plan together. If there is subluxation, I'll put a plan together to correct the subluxation, to remove it, and to help you and your family start to find balance again, to help your child start to find balance again. If that is something that you're interested in, please call us here at One Love Chiropractic, 828-505-1584. If you're still a little bit hesitant, that's okay. I get it. This is new. This is something you've probably never heard before. But send me an email. Give me a call. We'll talk. We'll chat. I'll talk with you for as long as it takes. I am here to help. Because who knows how our world works? 6 degrees of separation. Most likely in this community, my kid, little man Tate, is going to be playing with your kid. And I want them both to be happy. So I hope you enjoyed today. I hope you learned a little bit. I'll be sending out some blogs on this subject. I have some great information on my website about ADHD. I have some testimonials there as well. So please check it out. Give me a call. Send me an email. I hope to connect with you soon. Until next time, take care, good vibes, and much love. Have a great day.
History has proven that they killed our